Sarah, we need your room. My mother's voice was cold, calculated, devoid of any maternal warmth. I looked up from my laptop, where I'd been working on financial algorithms late into the night. What? Your sister Olivia is moving back home with her MBA from Harvard. She needs a proper workspace, and your room has the best lighting. My mother's eyes swept dismissively over my simple desk setup. You can sleep in the basement until you find your own place. I was 23, living at home while working remotely as a financial analyst. Not my dream situation, but I was saving money and building something bigger. Not that my family knew or cared about my plans. The basement isn't even finished, I protested, thinking of the damp concrete floors and exposed pipes. It's not livable. Well, my father interjected, entering my room uninvited. Maybe that will motivate you to do something meaningful with your life. Like your sister. Ah yes, Olivia. The golden child. The Harvard graduate. The one who just accepted a position as junior executive at Morgan Stanley. A job our parents' connections had conveniently secured for her. I have a job, I said quietly, though I knew it was useless. My position as a remote analyst for a small fintech startup meant nothing to them, especially compared to Olivia's prestigious corporate title. Playing with numbers on your laptop isn't a real job, my mother scoffed. Your sister needs this space to prepare for her future. She's going places, Sarah. She can't work in some cramped guest room. I looked around at my room, my sanctuary since childhood. The walls were covered in mathematical formulas and coding diagrams, representations of the algorithms I'd been developing in secret. My family saw a messy display of incomprehensible scribblings. They had no idea they were looking at the foundation of what would become one of the most sophisticated financial trading systems in the world. I'll find my own place, I said, turning back to my laptop. Not because I was giving in, but because I finally had enough. 3 years of dismissal and degradation while I quietly built my empire was enough. You have until tomorrow, my father announced. Olivia's movers are coming at noon. Tomorrow. The irony almost made me laugh. They had no idea what else was happening tomorrow. Later that night, as I packed my belongings into boxes, my phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Marcus, my chief technology officer. Tiger Protocol is ready. All systems go for tomorrow's launch. I smiled, thinking about the chaos that would unfold in less than 24 hours. For 3 years, I'd been developing a revolutionary trading algorithm that could predict market movements with unprecedented accuracy. My playing with numbers had evolved into Nova Financial Technologies, a company that operated entirely in the shadows through a complex web of shell corporations. While my family bragged about Olivia's corporate job, I had built a financial technology empire worth billions. The small fintech startup I supposedly worked for, a front company, my real office occupied the top 5 floors of a downtown skyscraper, hidden behind layers of corporate anonymity. And tomorrow, Nova Financial would emerge from the shadows, launching a trading platform that would revolutionize the banking industry, the same industry where my sister had just landed her prestigious position. Another message buzzed through. First phase complete. Nova's acquisition of Central Trust Bank is confirmed. All accounts transfer at midnight. Central Trust Bank, my parents' bank, the one where they kept their precious millions, the money they used to fund Olivia's education while telling me I needed to prove my worth before they'd invest in my future. By tomorrow morning, they'd discover who really controlled their money. I sealed the last box just as Olivia's voice echoed up the stairs. Mom, the interior decorator needs to know my color scheme for Sarah's room. My room. I shook my head, remembering all the times they'd made it clear whose success mattered more. When I graduated top of my class in computer science from MIT, on a full scholarship I'd earned myself, they skipped the ceremony because Olivia had a sorority event. When I landed my first coding job, they dismissed it as playing with computers during the same dinner where they celebrated Olivia making a Harvard Business Review editorial board. Sarah, my mother's sharp voice cut through my thoughts. Don't forget to leave your keys. You won't be needing them anymore. I pulled out my keychain and removed the house key, placing it on my old desk. I wouldn't need it. After tomorrow, I'd never need anything from them again. As I carried my boxes to my car, I heard them in the kitchen, planning Olivia's room renovation. We'll need to redo everything, my mother was saying. This space needs to reflect success, not whatever Sarah was doing in here. I loaded the last box and sat in my car, watching the house I'd grown up in. The house where I'd learned that family loyalty only extended to those who fit their definition of success. Opening my laptop one last time, I sent a final command to our servers. Initialize Protocol Tiger. Authorization, Nova Alpha 1. The response was immediate. Protocol Tiger initiated. System-wide implementation in 8 hours. I started my car, not the luxury vehicle my parents expected of a successful daughter, but another part of my carefully maintained facade. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, they'd learn what real success looked like. But first, they'd learn what it felt like to be powerless. I drove to my real home, a penthouse apartment in the city's most exclusive building. The doorman nodded respectfully as I entered. Here, I wasn't Sarah the disappointment. I was Ms. Matthews, the mysterious CEO of Nova Financial Technologies. In my home office, I reviewed the final stages of Protocol Tiger. The algorithm we'd launch tomorrow wouldn't just revolutionize trading. It would systematically expose and freeze suspicious financial activities across the banking sector. Activities like the creative accounting my father's company had been using to inflate its value. Activities like the hidden trust funds they'd set up for Olivia while telling me I needed to learn financial independence. My phone buzzed again, a family group text from my mother. Dinner tomorrow night at Le Cirque to celebrate Olivia's new position. Sarah, you're welcome to join if you found a place to stay. Dress appropriately. Le Cirque, their favorite restaurant for family celebrations. The same restaurant where they'd announced they wouldn't help with my MIT tuition because real success means standing on your own feet. The same restaurant where, tomorrow night, their credit cards would be declined in front of all their society friends. I sent a brief reply. I'll be there. Opening my safe, I pulled out a thick folder labeled Project Homecoming. Inside were documents detailing every dismissive comment, every missed milestone, every instance of favoritism, matched with corresponding financial records showing how I systematically gained control of their financial institutions. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. Ms. Matthews, the board members are assembled for the final briefing. Thank you, Alice. I'll be right there. I stood in front of my mirror, transforming from Sarah, the family disappointment, into Sarah Matthews, CEO of Nova Financial Technologies. Tomorrow, I would sit in Le Cirque and watch as my family's carefully constructed world crumbled. Not out of revenge, but because sometimes the only way to make people see their mistakes is to show them the consequences of their actions. The basement they'd wanted to banish me to? After tomorrow, they'd be lucky to afford a room half that size. The next evening, I arrived at Le Cirque precisely on time, wearing a simple black dress that probably cost more than Olivia's monthly salary at Morgan Stanley. Through the restaurant's windows, I could see my family already seated at their usual table, champagne flowing freely as they celebrated their golden child's latest achievement. My phone buzzed with updates from Marcus. Protocol Tiger successfully deployed. All systems performing beyond expectations. Central Trust Bank's ownership transfer is complete. I smiled, tucking my phone away as I entered the restaurant. The maitre d' recognized me immediately. Not as Sarah from the Matthews family, but as Ms. Matthews, owner of the building that housed Le Cirque. Your usual table is ready, Ms. Matthews, he said softly, then caught himself as I shook my head slightly, gesturing toward my family's table. Not tonight, Pierre. I'm joining them. I approached the table just as Olivia was detailing her new office view. 42nd floor, corner office, overlooking Central Park. Sarah, my mother's voice carried a note of surprise, as if she hadn't expected me to actually show up. We already ordered. You should have been here earlier. I had some business to attend to, I replied, taking the only empty seat at the far end of the table, naturally. Business. Olivia smirked. Is that what you call moving your things to a friend's couch? My father barely glanced up from his phone, where he was probably checking his stock portfolio. Did you at least find somewhere decent to stay? We don't want you reflecting poorly on the family name. Before I could respond, Olivia launched into another story about her new position. The CEO himself showed me around. He says I have real potential to make director within 5 years. Speaking of directors, I interjected calmly, did you hear about the changes at Central Trust Bank? My father finally looked up, his brow furrowing. Changes? What changes? Just then, a waiter approached with more champagne. My mother reached for her purse. Let's order another bottle to celebrate properly, my treat. I watched as she handed over her credit card, knowing exactly what would happen next. The waiter returned moments later, looking uncomfortable. I apologize, madam, but your card appears to be declined. That's impossible, my mother snapped. Try it again. I've tried 3 times, madam. Perhaps another card? My father pulled out his wallet. Use mine. The waiter disappeared again, only to return with the same apologetic expression. I'm very sorry, sir. This one is also declined. Olivia rolled her eyes and reached for her new Morgan Stanley corporate card. Here, let me. That won't work either, I said quietly. All eyes turned to me. What do you mean? My father demanded. I took a slow sip of water. As I was saying about Central Trust Bank, there have been some significant changes in ownership. As of midnight last night, all accounts are under new management. My mother's face paled. What are you talking about? Protocol Tiger, I said, watching comprehension slowly dawn on my father's face. He'd been in banking long enough to have heard whispers of the revolutionary trading system that was launching today. That's impossible, he whispered. Protocol Tiger is Nova Financial's new system. The one that's supposed to revolutionize banking, the one that just acquired Central Trust. I smiled. The very same. Olivia looked between us, confused. What does this have to do with our cards not working? Nova Financial System has flagged several suspicious activities in your accounts, I explained calmly. Creative accounting, hidden trust funds, questionable transfers. Standard procedure in such cases is to freeze all associated accounts pending investigation. My father's face had turned an interesting shade of red. How do you know all this? Because, I said, finally letting my carefully maintained facade drop. I designed the system. I am Nova Financial Technologies. The silence that followed was deafening. That's ridiculous, Olivia finally sputtered. You work for some tiny startup. A cover, I replied. Nova operates through dozens of shell companies. That tiny startup is just one of many. We employ over 3,000 people across 15 countries. And as of today, we control most of your banking infrastructure. My mother's hands began to shake. But you're just... Just what, Mom? Just the daughter you kicked out? Just the one who was playing with numbers on her laptop? Just a disappointment. I pulled out my own card, black, unmarked except for a small Nova Star logo, and handed it to the hovering waiter. The champagne is on me. In fact, everything you've ordered here for the past 5 years has been on me. I bought this building 3 years ago. The waiter nodded respectfully. Yes, Miss Matthews. Matthews? My father choked out. Sarah Matthews. You're Kate Matthews. I nodded. The very same. Though I'm surprised you never made the connection. Too busy following Olivia's corporate career path to notice what I was building, I suppose. Olivia's face had drained of all color. The merger, Morgan Stanley's new trading platform partnership, is with Nova, yes. You'll be using my technology, assuming you keep your position. Though given the irregularities Protocol Tiger has already identified in your department's trading patterns, I wouldn't count on that. My mother reached across the table, her voice desperate. Sarah, darling, surely we can discuss this. We're family. Family? I stood up slowly, looking at each of them in turn. Family doesn't kick someone out of their home to make room for the favorite child. Family doesn't dismiss achievements because they don't fit a predetermined mold of success. Family doesn't ignore graduation because someone else's sorority event is more important. I picked up my purse, genuine alligator, worth more than my father's car. Your accounts will remain frozen pending a full investigation. Given what my system has already uncovered, I'd expect calls from the SEC within the week. You can't do this, my father growled, but his voice lacked conviction. I already have. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Olivia, I hear the basement has great lighting this time of year, in case you need somewhere to stay. The walk to my car was the longest and most satisfying of my life. Behind me, I could hear my mother's sobs, my father's angry muttering, and Olivia's complete silence. My phone buzzed, another update from Marcus. Stock market's response to Protocol Tiger is unprecedented. Nova's value has tripled since opening bell. I smiled, thinking of the room they'd so eagerly taken from me, the space they thought was wasted on my playing with numbers. That room had been where I'd written the first lines of code for what would become a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. The next few weeks brought changes no one in my family could have predicted. The SEC investigation revealed years of financial misconduct at my father's firm. Olivia's department at Morgan Stanley underwent a complete restructuring, her position eliminated in the process. My mother's social circle evaporated as quickly as their frozen assets. And me? I kept building, growing, expanding, not to prove anything to them anymore, but because I discovered something they never understood. True success isn't about corner offices or prestigious titles. It's about creating something meaningful, something that changes the world. These days, when people ask about my path to success, I tell them the truth. Sometimes being kicked out of your home is the push you need to build your own empire. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't serving it cold. It's serving it with a declined credit card at Le Cirque.